Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group One, and this video is made to fulfill the assignment of speaking for academic purposes, offering F1. And here I am Ananta Putra. Will be the adjudicator in this session. Okay, let's get started. The motion in front of the House is this House regrets the idolization of individuals who achieve success without going through traditional education. For example, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and etc. And then the first speech will be given by the Prime Minister. For the Prime Minister, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible?
Crystal clear.
Okay, I'm going to start my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays when we ask millennials what they want to do, many of them will say that they want to become entrepreneurs. They often say that successful individuals like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs are their role models. Those are some of the richest people in the world. It is also known that those three were college dropouts. Now, what does idolizing their success here mean? Idolization means to excessively adore, admire, or even worship someone. And from the example given in the motion, we define the success as being the richest people in the world because, well, they are the founder of major global companies. Their viral backstory of being a college dropout create the misconception among teenagers who are currently going through education. People my age who are struggling in school or higher education, be it for a financial or other reasons. Those who idolize these people mention casually about dropping out of college and getting a job or making a startup business. And there's the idea as if those billionaires were average guys who decided to ditch college to pursue their dream career. While the truth is, there are many underlying factors that contribute to success. That is what people need to understand. Two reasons that I will elaborate is the fact that they are skilled entrepreneurs who invent something, and two, that they come from a well-off family. Our goal here is simple. Instead of idolizing those billionaire businessmen, we set their success only as motivation. This means that we will take the inspiration from their stories, like their innovative ideas, their work ethic, but we do not follow their route of dropping out of college to be successful or idolize the idea of being a college dropout. Now, why is it not okay to idolize successful individuals who didn't go through education, through traditional education? The first reason, ladies and gentlemen, is that not everyone can invent something, then turn it into a company that ended up being as successful as these major world-dominating companies. As we all know, people like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos are the founder or CEO of big companies. Respectively, they are the inventors of Facebook, which is a huge social media platform, Microsoft, a computer software corporation, and Amazon, an e-commerce company. Note the fact that that is their way to success. To be on the same level, or if not just close enough, a lot of things come into play. One is having great ideas. We need to have something to offer to the world. We can't just think about dropping out of college without having any plan on what to do next. Two is skill. It's no doubt that having skills in the field that you're taking part in is very important. Like, whether or not we have the ability or knowledge that can support the job. And last but not least, number three is work ethic. Generally speaking, most jobs require anyone to have a high work ethic if they want to go far or be successful in their field, especially when someone is starting up a new business. The second reason that I'm going to be talking about is the fact that the majority of those successful people come from a rich family. They didn't come from a working class, middle, or low income family like most people do. Not to discredit their individual skills, but the financial conditions and the business positions of these people's families play a big role in their success. I'm going to take two examples from Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates. Mark was already a computing prodigy before he went into Harvard. He attended Philip Exeter Academy, which is the most elite boarding school in America. That boarding school has a college tuition of $57,000. His father, before when he was a teenager, his father hired a private software developer to tutor him, and he also took college computer courses before he came to Harvard. And Bill Gates' parents, his mother to be exact, had a position as a president of the United Way, and with her position, she managed to influence IBM, Internet Business Machines Corporation, to hire Microsoft, which was only a small software firm back then. So we see that even they dropped out of college, they already have something like a small business going on. And ladies and gentlemen, the status quo is that most job vacancy for a good position requires at least a bachelor's degree. And now there are thousands of college graduates out there who are still struggling to get a job. What I'm trying to say here is that while it's true that having a degree or finishing an education doesn't guarantee success, but then what about not having a degree at all? Idolizing these individuals without acknowledging their privilege and their existing advantages is not okay, and that is why I'm very proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech. Next, to open the case of the opposition side, this house recognizes the leader of opposition. For Mr. Mahendra, the time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to present my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before I come to my own arguments, let us first have a look at what the government side has said. They say that these figures have unique skills, great ideas, and work ethic. But I think the government side is too pessimistic with possibilities that could happen, because someone could change him or herself from nothing to something if there are a will and an emergency situation. All they need is just a trigger that pushes them to do something. Yes, turning a small company into a global corporation is not an instant matter. It takes a very long process. But in this process, people will develop themselves to be better. They will achieve some essential skills and they will improve their work ethic. They also say that majority of the successful figure come from a wealthy family, so they have privilege. But in fact, a wealthy family is not a guarantee. Everything depends on what path a certain person picks in their life, which brings them to the success. Take, for example, Larry Ellison, who is the CEO of Oracle, a computer software company, was born in a poor family. He dropped out from 2 universities, which are the Universities of Chicago and the University of Illinois. But he managed to build his own company from scratch until it becomes something we know nowadays. Another example is Li Ka-shing, who is the owner of Zhongkong Holdings, are also born in a poverty-stricken family in southern China. And he was forced to leave school before the age of 15. They are just two of many names that was born from an unwealthy family and dropped out of traditional school, but become a successful figure. We might are familiar with other names because their popularity is overshadowed by the names like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos, as mentioned before. Now, let me come to my arguments. Here are the reasons why this idealization is important. First of all, I think to make figures like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg as their role model does not create any misconception. The point is on how these figures with their invention could inspire the people who look up to them. Of course, they don't have to take the same path by dropping out from their college, but they just need to imitate their inspiration's work ethic in the hope to receive the same success. Their success story might evoke people's desire to become better in life, and that is a good thing. For your information, Mark Zuckerberg is inspired by Bill Gates, according to his interview with CNBC.com. It has a valid evidence that making these individuals into a role model is a good thing. Secondly, if you talk about education, I think traditional or formal education is not only the solution to get someone success. As we all know, in our country, formal schools teach a lot. The fact we can say that they teach too many materials for students to understand. It causes a new problem where students cannot focus on developing their skills because they are forced to master a lot of materials. So this is why informal education like viewing videos on the internet, self-study, reading articles, participating in forums and chat rooms, and performance support could be an alternative solution. People could set their own goals and learn about what they really want to learn in order to improve their skills. Thirdly, you need to know that to apply for a job in companies like Microsoft and Facebook, you don't have to have a degree, which is amazing. Of course, a degree is a plus, but they do not prioritize on the education. Instead, they look for someone who is skillful in certain expertise for a particular position. It shows that there are still many companies that prioritize skill over a degree, even big companies. This is why people just need to focus on developing what skill they are good at and turn it into their source of making living. Other than that, people have to be smart in looking for opportunities, but not just looking for a degree. We are very proud to.
Okay, thank you very much for the speech. Next, to extend the case of the government side, this House welcomes the Deputy Prime Minister. For Ms. Aulia Adisya, the time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
Okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. For my speech, I would like to engage about OO statements saying that traditional and or formal education is not the only solution to get someone success. They say that formal education such as viewing videos on the internet, reading articles, participating in chat rooms, and etc. could be the alternative solutions. However, ladies and gentlemen, not everyone has the ability to learn only from informal education, which requires them to study on their own. Plus, even though finding material in the internet is only a click away, but any source of material that can be found on internet are not always credible and reliable for people to learn. Sources from the internet can be very misleading since any anonymous can edit or add the content with inaccurate and invalid information. In addition, we cannot truly know whether the author is an academic expert or not. Moreover, even though people are willing to learn independently, one cannot actually know and understand where to begin with, what simple basics they need to learn first before proceeding to a more advanced basics. This is why traditional educations offer a structured and organized learning for you to learn from scratch. Also, traditional education provides credible mentors to guide people to learn from in order to be focused on setting their goals. While in informal education, people can often be distracted because there isn't any mentor to guide you or even to monitor your progress in learning. So that is why traditional education is the best solution in obtaining credible and reliable education. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our arguments. We think that the statement of individual achieve success without going through traditional education should not be idolized because of these reasons. First, just like what the Prime Minister has said in the beginning, inventing something and turning them into a successful company isn't something that everyone can do. The possibilities to achieve successful career by doing so without going through traditional education is only 1 in a million. One cannot just simply think that without any basics or skills offered from traditional education, they can be millionaire in a snap. Evidently, not everyone is Steve Jobs, and not everyone is Bill Gates. Not everyone have a strong foundation, dedication, and work ethics like I have. Second, in order to be successful, clearly one must own strong mentality, responsibilities, and adequate problem-solving skills. All these soft skills are available and can be learned in traditional education. People with enough education can successfully face some of the actual obstacles because they have been taught or trained to improve their soft skills. Thus, people who become an entrepreneur or own a company can gradually overcome any problem or any consequences that is imminent to their company. On the other hand, let's say that, for instance, people who is not going through traditional education decide to become an entrepreneur or owning or even a businessman. Will they manage to face the outcome or even worse, the fallout of their decision? No, because without going through traditional education, they cannot overcome any problems with low responsibilities and lack of problem-solving skill. Third, if this statement is idolized, then it will only bring bad influence to many undergraduate people out there to just drop out from school or college. Many people will think having a degree doesn't always equal to success. This will create a sense or shallow mindset that's saying that education is not important. In fact, having a degree will clearly give people advantages to ease people's path to truly earn successful life. because not owning a degree will limit your chances to many opportunities in the future. So even though those successful individuals such as Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and etc. are college or high school dropouts, their intellectual work ethics, ideas, and willingness to take risks are outstanding to begin with. However, this is not applied to everyone who wants to create a path to success. Going through education or having a degree is the wisest choice to open doors of any possibilities in the future. Thus, idolization of individuals achieve success without going through traditional education should be regretted in the thought I'm proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech. Next, to strengthen the case of the opposition side, this House will call the Deputy Leader of Opposition. For Mr. Reynaldy, the time is yours.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
As for my speech, I would like to oppose OG's statement about why the traditional and formal education holds the important role of someone's success. Well, of course, not all people are capable and possible to be those figures. The chances are indeed low, but what we want to emphasize is their spirit, urge, and hard working to reach success even if they have to drop out from their college. These kinds of individuals simply think that the action, like dropout, is just a lesson to learn, a lesson which makes them to improve even better. They take their action as a motivation and also part of their way before finally becoming successful. For those who think that quitting the college For those who think that quitting the college and consider the formal education to be worthless are actually a misconception. Basic knowledge are indeed important for everyone, and those can be earned starting from the elementary school. The necessity of ones to obtain a proper education is even included to the human's right, and after the needs of the basic knowledge is fulfilled, it is the individual's choice on how they can improve themselves. In fact, those figures such as Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Steve Jobs do still attend the pre-college school. They drop out from their college due to some condition. Their dropout is also followed with a brilliant and wise plan, which don't make them a total failure after that, but a success instead. Next, I don't think that the soft skill like mentality and responsibility are mainly obtainable via traditional education. Those traits are parts of humans' growth and their life experience. As one grows older, they should obtain those skills naturally. In life, they will also face various problems and life experiences which enable them to improve further. Even humans has their own nature of learning, even if they are not given a direct education like in the traditional education. Proceeding on, I will give some of my statement of on why one can be successful even without the traditional education, especially on college, since the mentioned figures drop out at this level. Firstly, I would like to say that going to a college for a, tra- for a, tradi- for a traditional education will not guarantee your success. Most of the things taught in university will contain mostly about theories that meant to strengthen our basic skill. It will be different when you are later on the working environment where the application of your skill is the priority. You cannot find applied skills in those traditional education. You are demanded to learn this on your own. If you go to college just for those theories without any other effort of improvement, it will end up in vain. Because such theories are widely available in the internet. For the credibility, I bet that teenagers to adults should be open-minded enough to consider whether something is valid or not. Secondly, most people just go to the college and other traditional education instances, even if they are even if they don't really need to. They tend to go to college because of other people's influences and not because of their own desire. If this is the motivation of their education, they might not be successful. In this case, they are just wasting their money and time while they can actually spend it on something better for their own self-improvement. People can be successful if they can make a structured plan for their life. Mark Zuckerberg is one of the examples of this. He drops out from his college in order to be more focused on developing Facebook, which he has planned before. Besides, jobs nowadays don't require you to obtain a traditional education or even a degree. Thirdly, you can always start to explore the field or passion you're really interested in. Once you find one, you might want to improve it more by self-researching. When you are confident enough with the skill you are possessing or the results of your research, you might want to start experimenting with it. The experiment might be in a form of applying to a certain job vacancy related to your field, or you can even start opening your own business. It might not go smoothly at the start, but this is what builds your character. As time goes, you will earn a lot of life lessons and experience that might lead you to success. Experience, motive, and consistency is the key of success. By this, I'm proud to propose OG's statement of regretting the idolization of individuals who achieve success without traditional education. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech. Next, to strengthen the case of the government side, Nisa recognizes the member of government. For Mr. Bagus, the time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. First of all, I want to deepen all these statements about the importance of traditional education. We agreed that this host regrets about the idolization of individuals who achieve success without going through traditional education. In my speech, I will explain it in 3 points. 1. The disadvantage from this kind of idolization. 2. Why traditional education is important. And 3. The survey about 100 top billionaires in the world. So, point number 1, I can say that this kind of idolization is dangerous. Why? Because this kind of idolization could make people think that they don't need to go through traditional education to achieve success. In other words, this kind of idolization could change their mindset. They will start to think that they do not need to complete their education to achieve success. This is something that completely wrong. Because after all, traditional education is important and all people need that for their future. It's not that easy when someone decides to drop out from his or her school or college, then start a business and finally become a planner. They need to think harder from that, and education will really help that. Point number 2, why traditional education is important. There are several things that makes traditional education important. First, traditional education can build our personality and characteristic. By this, we will know which one is bad and which one is good, which much to do and which not. We learn and lead to have a good personality and manner. Nowadays, all companies will look people's personality and manner when they seeking an employee. They will never accept the people who have a bad manner. And in the school or college, we will teach of how to have a good personality and characteristic that will finally be a good manner. Moreover, when you have a company, of course, you want to have a good and loyal employees, right? Secondly, by joining traditional education, we will get anything that we need: science, materials, relation, experience, and etc. When we are in school or college, we will get a lot of materials and science that will helpful for us in the future. We will meet many people that have different characteristics and backgrounds. We will learn to read the condition and situation, and this is something that will be very useful when we enter the work life in the future. For experience, college will have programs that make us go directly to the field. So when we want to learn about to be entrepreneur, we will be we will be placed in the company to learn directly there. This is very important because we will see and understand the real condition in the field. Next, we will be more ready to start our business. Thirdly, traditional education can develop our interests and our passions. By joining traditional education, we also can develop our interest and passion. School and college will provide tools for our passion and interest. For example, when we like sport, we can join sport club, which provided by the school. We can join the sport class, and finally, we can be an athlete. Another example, when we have a dream to be an entrepreneur or a billionaire, we can major in business. From these classes, we will get basic of how to start our business, something about important in business life and anything about business. In the end, we will have soft skills that will be very helpful when we want to start our business or when we have graduated. The other things is that we need to complete education that we have started. By completing our education, we will have and get all the education completely. We need to be serious to understand and master the material. By that, we will ready to face the world and achieve our dreams. Those are the reasons why traditional education is important for our life and our future. Point number three, it will feel very hollow when I said those reasons without a proof. So based on the survey, there are 31 people from 100 world's top billionaires who are dropped out of school and universities. What I want to say is there are 68 people who became a billionaire after complete their education or degree. The percentage exceeds half of the total. This is proven that traditional education is important for our life. We cannot depend on our belief if we will be successful when we leave school or college. For example, Mr. Nadiem Makarim from Indonesia, he completed his education in two universities, which are Harvard University and Brown University. He found Gojek and now he is the Minister of Education and Culture of Indonesia. Another figure is Mrs. Susi Puji Astuti, who is the Minister of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries of Indonesia. She only high school graduates when she was appointed minister. But then she continued her education and finally graduated from Universitas Diponegoro. From this, we can see that education is really important for every person and plays an important role in one's future. Because of this, we are sure that we will win this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech. Next, to strengthen the case of the opposition side, this recognizes the member of opposition. For Ms. Bujur Ita, the time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Based on the context, traditional education reform promotes the adoption of progressive education practice, a more holistic approach which focuses on individual student needs and self-control. Traditional education just teach a bunch of theories and the students have no idea how this stuff can be used in real life, if they can use it at all. We need to combine it with a practical and more realistic uh, system that can be applied. For example, would be they learn chemistry, but they cannot produce or make anything at all. Not even a straw or a glitter pick or a plastic spoon. Not even a straw. So what is the use of the subject? Every subject has two sides at the same time. All right. What is the subject of that? Every subject has two sides at the same time, theory side and practical side. Then, the non-traditional education is the one we learn it out of formal schools. The best examples would be successful people who never went to these formal schools and they are doing extremely well in real life, such as Henry Ford, Tony Robbins, Jackie Chan, etc. So, I think traditional education is also important to achieve success because traditional education can improve our skill of thinking. I would say both is important to achieve success. Applying methods from one and the other makes education richer. Look at the teaching of foreign language. There are so many good new methods, yet students graduate with so many weaknesses. They communicate their ideas, but with such erratic language. There are many definitions for both traditional. To be clear, when we say non-traditional education, we are talking about learning outside traditional methods such as college, university, or trade school. Traditional education typically provides a lot of structure, discipline, rules, and resources. This can be good for those who lack the discipline and who need to be fast to improve their personal or professional position. On the other hand, non-traditional education can provide more flexibility and customization to the individual schedule. And I would say it is good to achieve success with the both education because each of them principally has the advantage. For example, the traditional education have some advantage that people get, such as they have active learning because they have in contact with their teacher and colleagues. It creates a routine which the students have to follow, and in turn, this will bring punctuality and discipline. Another example is the non-traditional education that also have some advantage. With the one is skills non-traditional education often have higher levels of motivation than younger students, and non-traditional education comes to solving skills problems. So I would agree with both of this education to achieve success. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech. Next, to strengthen the case of the government side, he just recognizes the government whip. For Miss Tria, the time is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes, Miss.
All right, thank you. So first of all, let's take a look on what the government and the opposition side has stated. All right, so from the government side, they stated that the backstory of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Steve Jobs create the misconception among teenagers who are currently going through education, especially by the people who are struggling in school or higher education. They also added the fact that those people are skilled entrepreneurs who invent something and come from a rich family. On the other hand, the opposition side refuted by saying that they think to make figures like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg as their role model does not create any misconception. So the point is on how the figures with the invention could inspire the people who look up to them. So they just imitate their work ethic instead of take a same way by dropping out from school. They also said that a wealthy family is not a guarantee. Everything depends on what path a certain person picks in the life, which brings them to success. So to emphasize this statement, they give example about some figures who can be success even though they were not born from a wealthy family and they are dropped out from traditional school. The opposition team even stated that informal education, like viewing videos on the internet, reading articles, participating in the forum and chat rooms, can be the alternative solution. However, this statement can be dangerous, just like what the government team said. They think that this kind of idolization could make people think that traditional education is not important and they don't need to go through it to achieve a success, which is wrong because traditional education is needed and, and important for the future. Taking informal education like that also can be dangerous because this is done freely and independently without any guidance from anyone, so that no one can be held responsible if something untoward happens. We cannot also trust the author whether the materials is not true, and there's no guarantee about that. Again, the opposition team refuted government team's statement about traditional school that provide a lot of material, like science, math, etc., which very helpful in the future by saying that in this country, traditional school give too many materials for students to understand, and it causes a new problem where students cannot focus on developing their skills because they are forced to master a lot of materials. With the statements, the government team weakens the opposition team's statement by saying that traditional education can build personality, and character, which cannot be obtained through informal education. Because in traditional education, people are given the lesson about manners. This can be really helpful for the future, whether it's on the working world, a family, or even in a white community. But and the last one, the government team emphasized that their goal is simple, which instead of idolizing those billionaire businessmen, they set their success only as motivation. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the speech. Next, to strengthen the case of the opposition side, this House recognizes the opposition whip. For Mr. Gilang, the time is yours.
Yes. First of all, according to the topic, which is the idolization of individuals who achieve success without going through traditional education, or I would say it formal education, which is so. First of all, as a person who is supposed to be opposition in this team, yeah, okay. First of all, I must say that the first one, traditional traditional education can also be done not solely for with formal education like elementary up to high school. It can be used also not only from source from the internet. It like if you just happen to have a relative is served as a lecturer or teacher, then you can homeschooling of course. Or if you have so happen have a connection like you are recently in the boarding school or yeah Islamic boarding school or pesantren, then you can keep studying with additional remaining sources and not worrying about that idolization of who is of those who sorry who achieve success without going through education, traditional education. And the second one, I think that idolization sometimes can be can become a code of personality, which is if it takes too far when the people literally agreeing on everything that's about him, everything positive about him, like that said Michael Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, and he won't take any criticism about them, like their how their success and how they are built their industry or empire despite being a dropout. And it's also for the idolization can become a justification for laziness because they think that their effort for studying is worthless, futile, when they know that the people who became who they idolizing with is actually can be a successful person being as a dropout, and thus the morality is dropped spectacularly. And yeah, back to the traditional education, I think that the responsibility who's responsible for the traditional education is not only the government but also the member of society like the family. Yes, especially the family. It's a duty for the father and mother to teach their son or teach their children about the about something that it it unusual it didn't afford it from their traditional formal education, like that's it, morality and ethic, etiquette, right? And also, yeah, it's also not that there's why they are take a dropout because they have some a project which is important and urgent to accomplish, like Bill Gates with their computer and so on. So it doesn't necessarily and even and even this and even embarrassing if you take a dropout just only because you have something like a project that you thought is necessary but it doesn't. And yes, and also every people are gifted differently. So like that, Michael Zuckerberg, yes, Michael Zuckerberg and Bill Gates are gifted differently. Mike, oh no, sorry, I thought his name is Michael. It's Mark. Sorry for the previous one. Yeah, Bill Gates is gifted with their technological advance, and Mark with social advance. And yes, every person in this world have their different ways to reach their success. And yeah, sorry, as a opposition whip, I didn't do anything anything right which is supposed to do as a opposition whip. Sorry, and that's my conclusion is we completely object the claim that idolization of that person is bad, and that's it.
Thank you very much for the speech. Okay, now it is a time to announce the result. So here is my result. So the first team or the first place goes to opening opposition with the score 79. And then the second place goes to opening government with a score of 78. Then the third place goes to closing government, who had a 77 score. And the fourth place goes to closing opposition with the score of 76. And this is the result. So the first is opening opposition. Why they could get the score of 79? The first is they negate the fact of the prime minister in the family matter, and then the next is they provide an alternative, which is informal studies that plays an important role in life. And then they also give example of companies that accepts those who have skills then great. And then they also mention that these peoples, Mark Zuckerberg and his friends, had a wise choice to drop out from their school. And then they also mention how we can be success without going through traditional education. And then they emphasize also in experience is the best teacher. Then moving on to the second place, and which is of opening government. So the reasons are the first, they present the motion briefly. The second is they also provide the goal of the argument, which is success as motivation. And then they also explain the role of family and this is important. And the next, they rebutted the leader opposition uh, of the alternative, which is informal studies. They said that not everyone has the ability to access the informal studies. And then also they give examples of what traditional education provides. And then they also say that we can't do anything if we don't have the basic or the foundation. Moreover, if we don't have the traditional education, then soft skills are provided in traditional school, and degree is necessary to broaden of our path to success. Moving on to the third place, which is closing government. So they emphasize on the danger of idolization and the importance of traditional education. They also give brief data and example, and also they analyze both teams' argument accurately. Then the last place, closing opposition. The reasons are they provide the example of those who didn't have traditional education but succeeds in their life. And then they also provides the balance of traditional and informal education. They also give another alternative of being success, which is homeschooling. And then they also emphasize the danger of idolizing those people. And they also say that there are different ways of success. And that's all the result of my education. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the debate of the session. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for joining. That's all from me. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.